Generals gathered in their masses, just like witches at black masses. Evil mind that plot destruction, sorcerer of deconstruction. In the fields of bodies burning, as the war machine keeps turning. Death and hatred to mankind, poisoning their brainwashed minds. Oh Lord, yeah. Politicians hide themselves away. They young started the war. Why should they go out to fight? They leave that road to the poor. Wait till the judgment day comes. Oh Lord, yeah. World stops turning, ashes where the body's burning. No more pigs have the power. Hand of God has struck the hour. Day of judgment, God is calling. On their knees, the war pigs crawling, begging mercy for their sins. Satan laughing spreads his wings. Oh Lord, yeah. Oh Lord, yeah.
For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, we are live and amplified. So let's get ready to podcast.
Fire it up.
Welcome, everybody, to another live and amplified jam session coming from Diamond Sound Studio here in Nashville, Tennessee. We are here with a very special guest. She just played War Pigs from Black Sabbath. Why did you kind of choose that cover? Because it's a very interesting cover to...
Mostly because my dad, he raised me on pretty much Black Sabbath and lots of 70s metal and 80s rock and grunge and all that types of stuff. Pretty much all my music taste comes from my dad. So that's always been one of my favorite songs since I was a little kid. So I figured I might as well try to cover it acoustically.
Nice. So your dad pretty much got you into music?
Yeah.
Who got you into starting to play?
Yeah. I wanted to copy my cousin Michael.
Okay.
He was older than me, and I thought he was the coolest person ever, and I wanted to copy everything that he did. And he started taking lessons, so I kind of badgered my mom into letting me do that with him, and I ended up kind of just becoming obsessed with it.
Nice. And what was the plan early on, just to do solo acoustic stuff, or did you want to do like a band thing, or what was the plan early on when you first started getting into?
I wanted to do a band thing, but I find that I like to work alone. I like to be in my own little bubble and work on stuff and just let it kind of lose myself and just working alone. I've always kind of been like that. I didn't really like team sports or anything. I wanted to be alone and read. I just wanted to be in my own little bubble doing my thing. Nice.
And who are some of your creative influences? Like when you sit down to write, who do you draw influences from?
Gosh, one of my favorite, it's weird since I'm an acoustic guitar player, it's weird, but St. Vincent's one of my favorite musicians, but she shreds and does really awesome weird stuff on an electric guitar, and just a lot of 90s girl rock too. Garbage, Liz Phair, Cranberries, the Cardigans, just that 90s girl era is really something I like a lot.
And so you're going to play another original, or you're not another original, you're going to play an original for us. Boy, whew. So,
I wish that was an original.
Yeah. Which song are you going to play for us next, and what's kind of the story behind it and all that?
This one's called Honey's Gone Bad. It's a single I released back in November. It's pretty much just kind of being disillusioned and tired of where you're kind of stuck at in life at a certain moment, and was also inspired by someone who our relationship didn't really end the way that I was hoping it to. So it all kind of just stems from that. Both of those things kind of happened at the same time.
Nice. Now, is this a newer song, or has it been in your arsenal for a while? Or?
Oh, it's newer. I wrote it back at the beginning of fall, and I just decided to release it in that same season.
Nice. Awesome.
I call your name, worship you. If I thought you'd do the same too, I can't go back. No matter what I do, gonna cut that cord and be born anew. 'Cause the honey's gone bad, the sun sets east, and the devil won't let me out of his teeth. That apple won't fall, the birds went north, and I'm too dizzy going back and forth. Ooh, oh, 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 ooh, I'd stake my claim and make my home, but the soil said ceased, and the devil won't let me out of his teeth. That apple won't fall, the birds went north, and I'm too dizzy going back and forth. Ooh,
Your first original, Honey's Gone Bad, and that was on your debut album, correct?
Oh, no, it's just released as a single.
Released as a single, gotcha. Yeah. You're joining us from Knoxville, Tennessee?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What's kind of the scene like up there? For people who have never been to Knoxville to see the local scene up there, what's the scene like?
It's mostly friendly. It's friendly for solo acts. There's starting to be kind of like a bigger push for venues that will host bands and stuff. It's starting to grow. It's a little bit smaller than I'd like, but it's getting there.
Okay. And you're from Tazewell? Tazewell. I almost had it right the first time.
I mean, you technically have it right. Yeah. There's no reason for there to be an E after the Z. It's ridiculous.
Is that a suburb of Knoxville, or where's that?
It's like an hour north of Knoxville, yeah. Okay.
So then you just upped and moved to Knoxville at some point?
I'm like commuting.
Oh, okay.
There's nowhere to play in Tazewell.
Okay, gotcha. So you commute to Gotcha.
There's nowhere in Tazewell.
What's kind of your creative process like when you sit down to write? Do you write the lyrics first? Do you write the melody first? Like, what's kind of your creative process when you sit down to write a song?
Honestly, when I try to write a song, it's usually doesn't work out. It's usually when I'm not trying to write and I'm just piddling around that I actually like think of like a progression I like or like a riff or something, and then I kind of just elaborate on that. It usually ends up happening by accident.
Gotcha. Do you have like a writing partner that you?
Mm-mm.
No, just you.
No, it's just me.
Because I know that's kind of a big thing down here in Nashville.
There's like 5 people in one song.
Yeah. You are in the middle of releasing some new music, but I want to talk about some of your original album. It came out in 2018. I was having a brain fart. I apologize. 2018. It was called Dixie Plaza.
Yeah.
What was kind of the idea for anybody that hasn't heard the album? What was kind of the idea behind it? What's the feel? What's the
Usually, when it comes to like the accidental songwriting or whatever, it's usually because I'm going through like some inner turmoil or something is happening that I don't really like to talk about, so I just end up writing about it.
Gotcha.
It ends up being like word vomit. There was a very good friend of mine was in a very bad situation at the time, and I didn't know how to help her with it. I didn't know how to talk to her about it, so I kind of wrote this album for her in a way, so I could express what I was feeling, and so she could know that she needs to straighten up.
Gotcha. And what have you've released a couple singles, and you're getting released another album, you're getting ready to release one later this year.
Yeah.
What have you learned from releasing the first album to now? Like, what have you learned as far as like getting ready to release albums and what have you?
I didn't really understand just like how important merch sales are, just in general.
Yeah.
Like that's like half of the help that we get when it comes to like trying to make new material and stuff. Like, y'all need to buy merch because it helps us fund our albums and it helps us fund recording and all that fun jazz. And it's just such a weird process because you don't know if anybody's gonna, you're taking a huge leap of faith to see if anyone's even gonna listen to like one song that you put out there. So I guess the biggest thing that I've learned is to just not worry about if people are going to like it or not. Just trust your gut and trust that what you've written is something good enough to be shared. So just trying to get past that lack of confidence issue.
When you were writing the Dixie Plaza, did you write songs specifically for the album, or did you just have a bunch of songs and it's like, okay, I like this, and that? Like, what was the process when you were putting?
It was a little bit of a mix. I had maybe like a handful of songs that I had already written. I didn't know what I was going to do with, but then all the drama and turmoil and stuff started happening, and then it kind of just like, I need to compile this in some type of way, and then I kind of just added on what I had already written and wrote a few more songs, and then made an album out of it.
Nice, that's awesome. You're gonna play another original for us.
Mm-hmm.
What song are you gonna play for us next?
This one's called "I Wish." It's off of Dixie Plaza.
Okay,
yeah.
Nice. What's kind of the story behind?
It's mainly about. I've never had to talk about this song before. There's a lot of bitterness in this song. Trying to, like I said, the whole album's about one of my really good friends, and it's just me getting out a lot of bitter feelings and hoping in some way that she could see what her actions are putting me through. So hopefully it would be a way to help her get out of the situation, just getting out all my bitterness in a solemn way, I guess.
Nice. All right, here it is. I Wish.
I
One thing we always like to talk about is one thing we really want to do is try and help give advice to younger musicians. So as somebody that's released a couple of albums and is getting ready to release a third, what advice do you have for like younger musicians that are maybe just starting to play or getting ready to start playing live show? Like, just what kind of advice do you have for younger musicians?
Persistence is key. You're going to have shows that don't turn out great. You're going to go through awkward situations. You're going to feel really uncomfortable. But if you really love it, then that's all it's just something that you got to get through. And like, once you get through that point, it just becomes easier and easier. There's a lot of growing pains, awkward moments, because playing in front of people, it can get weird. Like, it takes a lot of, for some people, it takes a lot of bravery to get on stage. So as long as you can get past that, it's worth it.
What's one thing that you've learned throughout your career that you wish you would have known when you started out?
Organization.
Yeah.
My husband is like not even half, he's 3/4 of my organization. Like, if I didn't have him, I would be a mess when it came to booking shows and stuff. So that's something I still need to work on personally. Mm-hmm. But keeping organized with emails and phone calls and contacting people, it can get overwhelming. Mm-hmm. So just practicing on your organization skills is something I never knew I would really need.
I get you. You're joining us here in Nashville. You're playing a show tonight in Murfreesboro. Have you ever played in Murfreesboro before?
No, not Murfreesboro. I've played in Nashville before, but not Murfreesboro. I used to go to school in Murfreesboro, so it feels weird being back.
Okay. What are you most looking forward to about the show tonight?
The show tonight, I love playing breweries. It's always a really cool atmosphere, and people are usually really willing to listen to live musicians, because there's some places where you kind of feel like you're just background chatter. Nobody's really paying attention. So breweries are usually really good for a really good responsive crowd. So that's always fun.
How often do you get out and like travel to play, or do you pretty much stay in the Knoxville area?
I travel quite a bit. Thankfully, I have made some pretty good contacts in Knoxville to the point where I can usually count on at least having 1 or 2 gigs a month in Knoxville. Mm-hmm. But I travel to Kentucky, North Carolina. I'm gonna be playing South Carolina in the spring for the first time. Usually have to travel a lot. Mm-hmm. I can usually guarantee being out of state at least once or twice a month.
Nice. Where's one place that you haven't played yet that you'd really like to, as far as within the U.S.?
As far as within the U.S.?
Yeah.
Either Atlanta or New York.
Is there
go up to like Brooklyn and do like all that hipster stuff or whatever.
Is there a specific reason why those, either Atlanta or New York?
Well, Atlanta, there's so much in Atlanta, mm-hmm. but there's so much to do in general. They have so much when it comes to the entertainment industry in general. I mean, it's like the little Hollywood of the South, because mm-hmm. I mean, even in addition to music, they've got so many television studios and everything, and you never know like what you could fall into. Yeah. Probably just why it's just because it's something in the South that I haven't touched yet. So it feels close, but yet so far.
Yeah. And so you're getting ready to release a new album. Mm-hmm. It's called May Queen.
Yeah.
And this next song that you're going to play is the title song.
Yes, sir.
What's kind of the background, I guess, what's the background for the song, the whole album? What's kind of been the process of putting the album, well, let's start with the album. What's kind of been the process of putting the album together?
Well, I said earlier that songwriting usually comes from moments I'm having deep inner turmoil, but this is the first time I've written some songs that are actually from happiness mm-hmm. and just having a good time in life and mm-hmm. just being happy with where I am. It's mostly called May Queen because I got married in May, and this year's turned me into a sap, so I'm kind of just riffing off that for as long as I can.
Nice.
And I've written I didn't think I'd be writing a lot of love songs, but it turns out that this album might be kind of sickening. Nice. So just prepare yourself.
Are you doing anything different to support this album, to promote it, than you have in the past?
I'm probably going to pay a lot more attention to marketing it online instead of just using a lot of budget for CDs, which, as great as CDs are, and I love them, a lot of people don't really respond to them or anything. It's usually digital listens and stuff like that. So I'm probably going to focus a lot more on that so I can get the word out better instead of having a corner in my room full of CDs that haven't left my possession.
You may want to look at vinyl as well. I've seen a lot of indie artists, like they'll find a little vintage pressing shop or something, and I've seen them do really well with that, so that may be something to look into. Just because you could sell, I've seen them where they sell the digital with it, so like they get the digital copy, but then they have like this physical copy as well, something like they have you sign, get framed, all that fun stuff. So I've seen that stuff work really well.
That's a good idea. Thank you.
Not a problem. You're gonna play May Queen. What's that song about? It's kind of the same feel for the album, or what's?
Yeah, and also just this is gonna sound really. This doesn't really go with the theme of being in love or anything. If you've seen the movie, but has anyone seen Midsummer?
No.
Okay, never mind. It's a horror movie. It's based around a cult in Sweden.
Okay.
And there's this part, they're laughing at me in the corner. There's this part in the movie where they're competing to be the May Queen, and I just thought it would have a nice ring to it, especially since I was married in May. And just, don't you look at me like that.
I love you. I'm looking at you.
Nice. Awesome. I can't wait to hear it. And here it is, May Queen.
Okay.
The sun is here, and all you see is me dancing your May Queen. It's dark and light, all at once, a perfect vision of us. We spin around until we fall. We spin around, and that is all. Sun never sets. Oh, the sun never sets. Drink these things, muddled grass and leaves, and me dancing your May Queen. Bitter and sweet, all at once, the perfect taste of us. We spin around until we fall. We spin around, and that is all. Hope the sun never sets.
All right, so that was May Queen. Thank you very much for playing that song. That's another awesome for you.
Thank you.
We're going to have you do another cover here in a minute, but I one thing that's always interesting to me, especially for solo acoustic acts, when they're playing at bars or live shows, how do you kind of balance the cover songs versus originals? Like,
it depends on the crowd. You kind of have to read the crowd. Sometimes, for example, last night where I played, you could just tell they were definitely more receptive to originals, which is always like, yes. It's like, thank God.
Yeah.
But the way I balance it, I kind of just, especially when it comes to stuff that you hear people cover all the time, and it's kind of just, you throw it in there to keep people's attention, and just when it comes to more popular stuff, try to just make it your own in a way, put your own little spin on it. It keeps it new, it keeps it less monotonous.
Yeah. What do you look for in a cover song? Like, say you're getting ready to learn a new cover song, what are you looking for in that song to make it your own? Does that question make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Mostly if I can play it in a way that makes me actually enjoy the song.
Okay.
Like, sometimes, like, especially when it comes to really popular stuff, like, no offense to Leonard Skinner, but everybody wants to hear Sweet Home Alabama. I've not figured out how to play that song in a way that makes me enjoy it.
Yeah.
So unless somebody gives me a nice tip, I'm probably not going to play that song.
No.
Just if I can figure out a way to make it kind of in my wheelhouse of what I would listen to.
Okay, cool. You're going to play Hang Me Out to Dry. What is it about that song that made you choose that as another cover you like to play?
It's one of those songs that, like, I remember where I was the very first time I heard it. I was just chilling in my basement, drawing, and MTV was on. I think I was in middle school when that song came out. And it started playing, it like immediately caught my attention, and I was like, oh snap, this is awesome. And then I just started binging Cold War Kids on, it's like looking for them all over YouTube.
Nice. Awesome. Well, let's give it a listen. Hang Me Out to Dry.
Careless in our summer clothes, splashing around in the muck, in the mire. Careless in our summer clothes, splashing around in the muck, in the mire. All mixed up in the wash, hot water bleeding our colors. All mixed up in the wash, hot water bleeding our colors. Now hang me up to dry. You read me out too many times. Now hang me up I'm burning like the whites of your eyes. Now hang me up to dry. You ran me out too many times. Now hang me up to dry. I'm burning like the whites of your eyes.
Has that song had any impact on your writing for originals? Have you taken anything from?
Hang Me Up to Dry?
Yeah.
Probably. Like, my music taste is very vast and random. So there's little nuggets of pretty much everything that I've listened to growing up that, like, I'll hear something that I've written, I'm like, okay, that's where that comes from. And it's just making weird connections like that. And I don't even realize it until, like, I'll be listening back to an artist I haven't listened to in a while, and I'm like, oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. Is it a crowd favorite when you play it at the? Is it usually one that gets people up and going? Or?
People respond to it really well. Usually not many people know what it is.
Okay.
But there's usually, especially at breweries and stuff, there's usually like a group, like a small group of people that are like, Gold Orchids.
Yeah.
So it usually at least gets some person's attention. But even when people don't know what that song is, they seem to pretty much like it.
So to kind of segue towards the end of the interview and all this fun stuff, you've got some pretty big shows coming up. Mm-hmm. What's your schedule? What do you got coming up? What should people be looking out for?
Things that people should be looking out for. April 10th, I'm going to be in Charlotte, right? Okay. April 11th, I'm going to be in Charleston. First time playing in South Carolina, so I'm very excited for that. First time playing in Charlotte as well. And one of the big things I have this year is in October, I'm going to be playing the Carolina Bohemian Fest on October 10th. Nice.
And is doing festivals something that you want to continue doing, like start doing like the summer festival scene and all that stuff?
Yeah, I like it a lot. Last year, I did Manchester Music Fest up in Kentucky, and it was just a blast the whole day. Nice. So I'd definitely like to start doing a lot more festivals.
You're getting ready to release a new single, Dickinson.
Yes.
And it's releasing on Valentine's Day, just so people know. They'll be able to get it on Spotify and all that fun stuff. What's kind of the story behind this song?
Well, the title Dickinson comes from, I love Emily Dickinson. Okay. I took a lot of English classes in college, so I just really fell in love with her poetry, and she has this poem called The Brain is Wider Than the Sky, and it's all about realizing that your consciousness can sometimes be bigger than the reality that you're in, and who knows, maybe you're creating your own reality in your head. And there's also like a little hint of like a love song mixed up in there. It's just there's a lot of layers, but that's the basic gist of it. Nice. That's why it's being released on Valentine's Day, because I still consider it a love song.
Okay. Here it is, Dickinson.
Carl Dickinson said the brain is wider than the sky. I pondered and bickered, denial just crept up inside. Then you put your lips on mine, and suddenly I felt alive. In the land where common sense is the devil's work, he took my hand, and in that poem, all my words, you make me
That's Dickinson. It's going to be available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, all that jazz,
Nice.
whatever you use online.
Nice. And that'll be out Valentine's Day?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Thank you again so much. We really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat with us.
Thanks for having me.
I hope you guys enjoyed that jam session with Lauren Beeler live from Nashville at the Diamond Sound Studio. But please excuse us while we pay some bills. First off, shout out to MXO Microphones. We are happily supported by MXO Microphones. For over 30 years, MXL has been bringing quality audio solutions to the market for users at all levels. You can follow MXL on all major platforms at MXL Mics. MXL Mics is the mics exclusively used by Live and Amplified, and we would not be partnered with them if we didn't absolutely love this product. And so we hope you guys will check them out. If you guys want to see some of their new sweet gear that they had just announced at NAMM, check out mxomics.com. And for anybody that'll be in Waco, Texas on Saturday, February 22nd, make sure you swing by the Hippodrome for the Blood, Sweat, and Beats Waco Hip Hop Story documentary premiere. Tickets are on sale at the Waco Hippodrome Theater.thundertix.com. The event is February 22nd from 7 to 10 p.m. It's a story of music, money, and murder birthed in the Bronx, but raised here in Waco. The Deep in the Heart Film Festival proudly presents Blood, Sweat, and Beats, the Waco Hip Hop Story. If you'd like to support Live and Amplified and the Live and Amplified Jam Session podcast, we accept direct Cash App donations at Live and Amplified. Search for us on the Cash App at Live and Amplified. Any donations of $10 or more will get a special heavy metal shout out. And lastly, make sure you follow us on all of our social media at Live and Amplified. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, anywhere and everywhere. Live and Amplified. Make sure you follow us, share us with your friends. First of all, I want to thank everybody for tuning in and supporting the podcast, supporting our new endeavor. We really appreciate it. Thank you for supporting our sponsors. Although we don't have very many of them at the moment, but we really appreciate you supporting us. Thank you to Lauren Beeler and Diamond Sound Studio for helping us out with the first part of the podcast. And now we're going to move into the second part, which is our fan feedback section. So basically the idea behind this is It's simple. Every week we're going to pick a musician that maybe we've seen a video from or heard a little bit about, but we don't know a whole lot about. So we're going to ask for fan feedback. It's super simple. Every week we're going to name off a musician. We'll announce it here on the podcast and we'll post it on Facebook, tell you when their next show is and how to submit feedback, essentially. And we'll take that feedback, we'll conduct an interview with the band, and if the band's cool with it, we'll go ahead and play one of their songs, and we'll kind of mix the music and the feedback together as an intro into the interview, and it's going to be a really cool segment. I think you guys will like it. For this week, we went ahead and just picked an artist, and we posted it on our social media. We reached out to the musician and asked them for help. And this week we got a really cool musician. She is all the way from Sydney, Australia. Her name is Bernie Van Tiel. She is a beatboxer, a rapper, a musician, an actor, just an all-around awesome creative. I hope you enjoyed this segment. We'll get into it right now.
Why you wanna doubt me? Why you wanna doubt me?
So I was at the bushfire relief benefit over the weekend and Bernie was performing. And I've seen Bernie perform at a lot of gigs around Sydney and listened to her music and everything. And she's one of the only musicians, and especially in local artists, that really actually know how to perform and kind of engage with you.
She was absolutely ridiculous. She made the crowd just shut the fuck up. She engaged everyone in the room from the moment she started to the moment she finished.
She played guitar, sung, rapped, and beatboxed throughout her whole showcase, which was amazing. And her energy and confidence on stage absolutely killed it.
She did a workout cover by Missy Elliott, and you could tell she was genuinely enjoying herself when she made that and when she was performing that. I think she said it was her first time she ever did that, so that was really well done.
She's hosting the audience in the sense that it's like, I'm here, I got you, I'm looking after you, and I'm going to take you on a musical journey. And as an audience member, you're like, great, I'm going to have a great time. And she just puts her own stamp on everything.
Why you wanna doubt me? Why you wanna doubt me? Out me like games played. I played my part on the main stage. I made my art, framed my heart, and made pain to start and gain rain. Catching dollars like a drought is coming and I'm trying to stay eating. Sticking to the script, but I can't break even. Jumping for the flip, man, I gotta stay breathing. I don't wanna trip, but my train is leaving. I don't wanna sleep on my dream. I ain't gonna sleep on my dream. So, till I get it made, I ain't gon' sleep. 2.0 apocalypse on me. Living large like a B.I.G. Why you wanna doubt me? Oh, I'm coming up real strong on my own. Why you wanna doubt me? I'ma fly without wings, you gon' see I'ma be. Why you wanna doubt me? Awake in my dream. Why you wanna doubt me? Why you wanna doubt me? Oh, I'm coming up real strong on my own. Why you wanna doubt me? I'ma fly without wings, you gon' see I'ma be. Why you wanna doubt me? Awake in my dream. Why you wanna doubt? Why you wanna doubt? Why you wanna doubt? Why you wanna doubt? Why you wanna doubt me?
A quick editor's note about the upcoming interview with Bernie. We had some technical glitches, and so there might be some awkward pauses and restarts, but just kind of bear with it. It's an awesome interview, and I hope you guys enjoy it. We're going to just kind of start rolling into it. There's not going to be any formal introduction or anything.
No problem.
So what got you into music?
There could be so many answers to that question. I mean, I got bored a lot as a kid. You know, I was born in the 90s, so that was sort of like pre-internet era.
Uh-huh.
And I lived in a pretty rural area as well, so there wasn't much to do. So I guess I've always been sort of that kind of kid that needs that sort of stimulation.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was the biggest turning point for me was needing to find a form of expression that really made me feel good about myself.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of just family issues arose when I was about 8, 9. And then they really manifested when I was about 12. And I had a very big life change that just solidified my position in life, really, growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my dad used to collect just a lot of things. He really, really liked having stuff.
Yeah.
So he collected, you know, expensive alcohol, and then it moved on to like really nice instruments, but he never played any of them, and he never really drank any of them. That was just for display. And I remember going into his cupboard one time when I was younger, and there was just all of these instruments. There was a bugle, a mandolin, an acoustic guitar, like a nylon Mexican style, like flamenco style guitar.
Yeah.
And I think like a little, like a tan drum kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to play all of them. Even before I found instruments, I was, you know, playing on pots and pans. And that developed into songwriting because I was always into poetry. So yeah, it sort of developed from that point forward. And also when I was 12, that's when I first discovered beatboxing.
Mm-hmm. I actually, before you jumped on here, I was just typed your name into Google, and that was one of the first things that came up was the,
oh really?
Was it the Australian National Championship?
Oh wow! Yeah, Beatbox Australia, Sydney Royale.
So, what got you into beatboxing?
Funnily enough, one of your natives in America, actually, Razel.
Okay.
Yeah, he's also known as the godfather of noise, and he brought beatboxing from the underground to the mainstream. And he did a lot of like Wu-Tang sort of covers, and I believe he may have even been like a personal beatboxer for them at some point when they do ciphers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he came to a festival in Australia called Splendor in the Grass, and my cousin came back with a CD of his beatboxing, and she was like, listen to this, and she put it on, and I was just blown away because all of it was of course vocal. And I was like, man, it wasn't even just a decision to learn it. It was just as if I absorbed that and just was compelled to repeat, you know, and try it out. So yeah, that's definitely what got me into beatboxing. But then what continued it was, of course, just finding myself in it a lot more. And it was such a niche thing to do. It was unique. And not many females were doing it, let alone 12-year-olds. So, I just started getting known for that, and it just encouraged me to do it more.
And how do you incorporate the beatboxing into your performance? Is that something you do regularly, or is it how do you kind of incorporate your music and the beatboxing, I guess is the
okay. It's something that I've done for a few years now. I sort of evolved from just beatboxing to then, you know, singing and songwriting and rapping, to then just being like, I wonder, because I love a challenge. So I just was like, I wonder if I can do this all at the same time. And so I would try and beatbox and play guitar at the same time, and then just figure out, you know, what intervals I can sing in between then. And then the gift of a loop station entered my knowledge. I was just like, oh my gosh, there's things called loop stations. You know, in high school, I had this music teacher who was really interested in what I was doing. And he was like, oh, have you heard of a loop station? I said, no. And he brought one in, and his was specifically for guitar, but we found out we could feed a mic into it and give that a shot. But it still wasn't very liberating vocally, because it wasn't specific for, a beatboxer per se. So around that time, I was working quite a few jobs, and I just wanted everything to pour into my career as a creative. And I saved up enough to get quite a bit of equipment, and one piece of that equipment was the Boss RC30, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, the RC30, which is the same one Ed Sheeran uses. And around that time, he was, becoming mainstream, and a lot of videos were surfacing of him using it for the same thing that I wanted to use it for. So it really encouraged me, but my style doesn't lend to the same style that he has, obviously. So I just kind of tried to put my own flair onto it. But that's where it started happening, around high school, definitely.
Where do you draw inspiration from for your music?
Oh man, everywhere and everything. So when I was younger, like very, very young, my cousins, I had a lot of older cousins that wanted to drive everywhere. They loved having, they had really good sound systems that were just ridiculous, like the type of subwoofers that the bass would shake your license plate off, your number plate off. So yeah, I got influenced by a lot of the music that they were listening to.
You're based in Australia. What's kind of the independent music scene like there for the people that aren't from Australia?
I mean, it's like a good and a so-so, you know what I mean? So and I could be totally wrong, but from the public eye, anywhere around the globe, when you see people in America, for example, it almost just seems like it's so much more possible for things to happen for you and for your dreams to have a chance, at least over there, because everyone, I mean, your population obviously is bigger, your country's been around for longer, like your nation's been around for longer. So, and you guys have just such community over there, especially creatively. And that's not to say Australia doesn't. Australia has a fantastic community of creatives. It's just that sometimes there can be this tall poppy syndrome. Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't.
So tall poppy syndrome is basically you let the poppy plant grow, the flower grow really, really tall. And then when they get to the peak height, you cut them. And sometimes Australia had this mentality of supporting the underdog until they make it. And when they make it, it's you'll either love them or you just, for some reason, people don't really support them anymore, I guess. It might be a jealousy thing. It might just be a society thing. And it's slowly getting better. We're outgrowing that mentality. I think that it all depends on where you're from. I mean, I moved to Sydney because my town was not going to be able to provide the same opportunities that I get here in Sydney. And I even need to live in the city to be able to partake in those opportunities or create my own opportunities. And this city is alive with people who are very like-minded and so supportive as a community in that sense. Western Sydney, in terms of the hip-hop and R&B scene, has been going crazy. Oh my gosh, the amount of talent that has just suddenly come out of nowhere, from there. we've got A Girl, we've got Elijah Yo, we've got Biggs, you know, we've got Carmel, Clarissa Buck, like all of those people I've had the honor of either meeting or being friends with or seeing them, just being in the same performance space as them. And they're all making big names for themselves and doing fantastic things, and touring and everything. Like, West Sydney is going crazy at the moment. And it's just, their community is fantastic out there because they all know that they're coming from, you know, the ground up. And a lot of them have been in the thick of things together. And you know, that's big community vibe over there. But I don't know, the indie music scene here tends to suffer sometimes, though, not through a lack of hustle or ambition or talent or anything like that, or support from the communities themselves. The oppression comes from the fact that our government and I'm just going to say our government doesn't necessarily support the arts as much as it used to. You know, a lot of our investments go towards just political things that shouldn't matter as much. But they shouldn't matter as much. I think people forget how much the creative industry actually feeds into the gross domestic product and the economy of a country. Like, you think about how many people want to go to America or Japan or, you know, any other place around the world that has a booming creative central hub because they want to feel connected to that. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not celebrity. They just want to feel connected to where that creativity started. There's something in the water. You know what I mean?
Yep. I understand completely.
Yeah, and though Australia is a beautiful country, it's stunning, and the landscapes and the people can be wonderful here. You know, it tends to suffer a bit because the government and you know, a lot of people who support the more gray side or bland side of politics don't really see the importance of creativity.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But to speak on the Sydney community, the way I was introduced to you was I was on the Sydney Music Group Facebook group page, whatever it's called. And I saw the ad for the Bash for the Bush. That was the name of the event you played this past week.
Yeah.
So how did you get, obviously it was a fundraising effort for all the wildfires that they're still going on, or that are
so quite a few fires have been raging across the country. It's been insane and ridiculous and horrible. And I'm not even directly affected. I mean, my area like gets blanketed in smoke, and it's not breathing conditions at all because the fire's like from 2 hours away. But you know, a big natural disaster just got flooded out by another natural disaster. So we had this cyclone just a couple of days ago, and all this rain just started causing all this flash flooding. And while we celebrate that the bushfires are out and dams are filling up, more homes are being destroyed and more roads are being destroyed just because the rains have just decided to open up. But the way that I got into the fundraiser was, funnily enough, the internet is a wonderful place sometimes, you know. And I got sourced on the internet for that bushfire. So I actually didn't know the event organizer until I turned up, and we met at the event itself. But we chatted online for a bit, and she told me what it was, and I was like, yeah. And at that point, I'd already done another fundraiser for the bushfires as well. So I was like, yeah, all the help that I can give, I want to do. And so I went in with that because she contacted me, I think via my social media platform, my page, my Bernie Van Tiel page.
Yeah.
And yeah, we just spoke from there, and that's how I got onto it.
Awesome. Because I remember when I first went on your page, I saw the pilot for the Motherlode. That's and for some reason I was watching it and I thought it was like the build up to a music video or something until I clicked on the page for the Motherlode, and I was like, oh, this is a series. That's cool. And then I went down and I kind of saw some of the older stuff you had done, and I kind of delved deeper into your music, and found out that you just through talking to you and seeing what you had released, you just released, and you said it was an unofficial single on SoundCloud, I think, right?
Yeah.
What was kind of the process when wanting to release that? Because I know you said it's like the first step in several things you want to accomplish this year.
Absolutely.
What was the thought behind releasing that, and where do you see yourself going the rest of the year?
So that's a wonderful question. It makes me very excited, actually. So you're right in it being an unofficial single. I call it unofficial because I'm not signed to any label. I freelance all of my music.
Mm-hmm.
I have an agent for my acting, but they're specific towards just acting, which is great because it's nice to just sort of separate those things.
Yep.
Yeah. And I produced it myself. I wrote it myself. And the thought that I just had was, I got a little bit stuck in the funk, of feeling like I needed all my stuff to be perfect. I felt like everything needed to be up to an industry standard, and that's in like quotation marks, industry standard, because what does that even fucking mean anymore, right?
Yeah. Yep, you're right.
But yeah, and I have a lot of friends that are really, really doing well for themselves, and they all had a plan, and they had like management team and marketing team and promo, and I was like, damn. And I started getting into my comparison bubble, because everything I've ever done in my life, I've done it just from myself. And I've had people help me along the way in terms of like, fantastic producers down at Vienna people, like they've helped me out quite a bit, even just in terms of advice, and, a few friends here and there just being like, yo, this gig is right up your alley, like the small things really, really matter to me. But yeah, the thought that just really triggered that was, I was like, you know what, I'm tired of comparing myself. I'm tired of thinking that something needs to be perfect, because I don't even know what perfect means anymore. I am tired of thinking that I need to pay for advertisement and that I need to do this, do that. I actually just need to work harder. I actually just need to stop caring.
Yep.
And I need to not care whether or not this becomes successful or I become successful, because my definition of success should only be happiness.
Yep, that's exactly right.
And, it's a thought process that I've had for a while but never acted on. And I felt like I wasn't being true to myself and true to my art. So when I released Doubt Me on SoundCloud, I was just like, look, guys, this is my first statement of 2020. This is me saying I don't care. And anyone else who thinks that, I need to be up to some sort of industry standard, like I need to be a product to sell my stuff and to sell my music, I think you're wrong. I really look up to people like Chance the Rapper. I mean, he still gives out music for free.
Yep.
And he just makes money off of his merch and so many other business avenues, and he knows his boundaries, and he's not signed, and he's still, quote unquote, made it.
Yep.
And he's not restricted by a label so he can go collaborate with whoever he wants. And I mean, that is like the ultimate artist freedom, is it not? Like to be able to just be like, you here now, studio, we are going to do a song together. Like that you're free of politics then.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, that was really inspiring to me. And then like, I love Wu-Tang Clan. I love, like just everyone from back in the day, like that just, especially in the hip hop movement,
Mm-hmm.
you know, especially coming out of, you know, the 70s and 80s and then into the 90s. Like, hip hop music is the definition of hustle. A lot of them didn't have instruments, so they relied on samples. So they recycled other music, and then they had something to say. They were journalists, and they were just talking about the things that they were witnessing day in and day out, and the things that they wanted to change, or the things that they wanted for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it may be explicit content, but it's just the narrator's response to the environment around them.
Yeah.
And that really inspired me, because it showed me that innovation is key. You can have zero, you could have nada, you know, and as long as you've got a voice, you're fine. You're going to find a way to get it out there. And I have no excuse now, because the internet is here. So I can, you know, iPhones are a thing.
Yep.
Everyone has a camera on their phone. Everyone has some sort of technology that helps them progress forward. And I don't need to be, you know, given a grant from a label to make something that looks like or sounds like it's on a big budget. That depends on how much you believe in your dream.
Yep. Because it's not so much about the quality of the content of the, like, the sound, the quality of the sound. It's more about the quality of what it means to you, or the authenticity. That's the better word.
Exactly.
So,
and I agree with that 100%. I would rather be an artist who is true to themselves and their stuff just sounds like shit than be, you know, someone who has really hot sounding stuff, but no one relates to it.
Yep. Because I truly believe that people can connect to you if you're being 100% authentic and being truly you. Like, say, you record a song and it's in your mother's bathroom on a cell phone, you know, and it may not sound the greatest, but if it's 100% authentic to you, people will gravitate towards it.
Totally. And that's what happened when I started posting my videos online, and like when I was first starting out, you know what I mean? Fresh out of high school, had a lot to say, had a lot of people who wanted me to say stuff for them because they just didn't feel like they could say it. So that's what I did. I didn't care, and I just wanted to go back to that. I wanted to go back to not caring and just doing it because I love it and I just wanted to.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You brought up Wu-Tang Clan a couple times, and it's kind of funny to me because I was at before I moved out. I moved out here to Texas about 4 months ago, and before that, I was living out east near my parents, and I went to a secondhand shop and found an original pressing of 36 Chambers and bought it.
No way.
Like the original vinyl. And like, I'd only ever heard them or heard Wu-Tang Clan on CD or the radio or like online and whatnot. And just listening to it on vinyl, it's so much better. Like, it sounds crazy, but like the vinyl there is a distinct difference.
Yeah. Wow.
I just had to bring that up because you've mentioned them a couple different times, so it's like, okay, you'll appreciate this.
Yeah, totally. I mean, they are a huge influence in the sense that like they broke a lot of boundaries for hip hop. Like similar to what Missy Elliott and Timbaland did as well for hip hop and R&B. Like they just if you want to ask me like who I think an icon is or who I think is such a huge influence in my life, I have to say Missy Elliott is definitely top of that list. Like as an MC, as a creative, as a dancer, as someone who does her music videos are so wacky. Like she is the definition of unlimited when it comes to your imagination. And I think Timbaland is a mad inspiration for me in the production element because he makes everything from scratch. I remember I used to have MySpace. You remember MySpace?
Yep, I remember MySpace.
So I used to have MySpace, and I remember there's that section of like, it has those questions. It's like, tell us a bit about yourself. And it's like, well, what's your dream or whatever. And I remember writing, I want to meet Timbaland one day so I can show him I can beatbox and we can produce music together.
Nice.
And, yeah, that's still definitely a top dream for sure.
It's cool. That's awesome. Wow, I can't believe you brought back MySpace. I tried to log in like a few weeks ago because I had gotten an email alert saying, hey, so-and-so added you on MySpace. And I was like, okay. And so I tried to log in. I couldn't even log in because my password was from like high school, which was 15 years ago. And it's like, okay.
Yeah. Wow.
So, yeah. But as we kind of wrap this up, because I don't want to keep you all afternoon, but what kind of advice do you have for younger musicians, let's say specifically in Australia, that are trying to start? Actually, we'll make it for all creatives, so it's not necessarily musicians, but like if they're an actor, comedian, whatever. What advice do you have for them to kind of help them either get started or if they hit like a lull in their career?
Okay. Firstly, there's no excuse why you can't do it. You're living in a day and age where basically everything is possible. Your only limitation really is your imagination. And I think that is cliche to say, but it's true. I think that if you have some friends that are like-minded, make sure you get together with them so that you can create that healthy competition. You guys want to one-up each other in like a really good way and work together to, get towards a dream. I would say believe in your content, especially when no one else does. So stand by your product, stand by what you believe in. If you want to, look at all of the people who are iconic today. You look at Nirvana, you look at Queen, you look at Missy, you look at Eminem, like you look at anyone, Billie Eilish, all of them just have had something unique about their career that a lot of people maybe 5 years before them said it wasn't going to work. Okay. So if you were to tell me that 10 years ago that that this young girl was going to come out and have this particular image and this particular sound and tell me her name was going to be Billie Eilish and that she was going to be one of the biggest pop stars on earth today, I would have been like, I don't know, man. I don't think that's what people are looking for. Don't believe in that, okay? So I honestly think that you got to believe in your product, because when you believe in yourself and you believe in your product and what you're doing, people will jump onto that, because no one's going to stand by someone who doesn't believe in themselves and their own product. And I would just say, keep at it, even when you're in the funk, even when you're feeling down. It very well may be the thing that saves your life. So keep at it. Go, 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 go. You have no excuse to stop. Like, honestly, you can do it. That's all I got to say.
Perfect. And anybody out there listening that's just kind of in that funk, just remember, block the haters and just keep doing your thing. Like,
100%.
There's no reason why you should listen to anything
100%.
negative.
You don't. And I would say, like, the last thing as well, anyone out there who thinks that they need the best products in the world to produce something fantastic, that's fiction, that's not a fact. So if you have a camera phone, or you have a laptop, or you just have anything, like you can create your own content no matter what. Like Tyler the Creator and Odd Future did that. There was a film that won an international award called Tangerine, and that was all filmed on iPhone.
Actually, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a guy who used to be a member of the Internet, I think, and he makes beats for Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole, and he does that all on GarageBand from his iPhone.
Yep.
So there's no limitations at all.
Because that's whenever, every once in a while, I'll go back to the school that I went to when I was a kid, and I'll go speak to the film class, because that's primarily what I grew up doing, was doing like film and short films, and parlayed that into the live and amplified thing. And I go and give speak, like the teacher that taught me is still there. And so I'll go and speak to his intro to film production class, whatever it's called. And the first question I always ask is, what's stopping you from going to make that film that make that film that you've always wanted to make? And the first response is always, "Oh, I don't have a camera." And it's like, yes, you do. You have a cell phone. Like, I mean, there's nothing stopping you. And I'm so glad that you reiterated that fact. And I hope somebody hears it and takes it to heart. Like, I really appreciate that. Thank you.
No, I appreciate you spreading that word to a large audience. I think it's important. It's really important, because you should wake up every morning and ask yourself, what am I going to do to benefit my career today? And the second question should be the one that you asked just then, which is, what is stopping me?
Yep.
Because nothing should be.
Yeah, exactly. One question I meant to ask earlier in the interview, what got you into acting?
I always wanted to do acting and music together, always. I still do. My least favorite question is people asking me, which one do you think I'll end up doing, or which one do I love more? That's like, that's like asking someone, which twin do you favor? You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, there's no reason you can't do both. So it's...
Exactly. Donald Glover, a.k.a. Childish Gambino, does it all.
Yep.
You know, jack of all trades, master of all of them.
Yep.
So what got me into acting was I've always been an expressive human being. Always loved getting either a rise out of people or a reaction out of people, or just making them laugh. And a lot of that came into my personality and how expressive I wanted to be. And I loved doing accents and stuff. And so when the opportunity presented itself at school, anytime that I was able to do a play or to do an audition or do something, anything, I just wanted to do it. And theatrics made its way into, or narrative made its way into all of my music anyway. So there wasn't really anything I could escape. And luckily I loved it. So that's the one thing that got me into acting. And I would watch shows and movies and just be like, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do this. Like 100%, I will do this. So yeah, that's where my mind was at.
Well, Bernie, I want to thank you so much for giving me this time to sit down and chat with you. Where can everybody find you on social media, whether it be for your film stuff or your acting stuff that you're working on, or your music? Where can everybody find you on social media?
Okay, cool. Well, first of all, thank you as well for giving me your time. I really appreciate it. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, SoundCloud, probably even YouTube. Like, I got a lot of old videos out there as well. My handle is all the same across all platforms. It's Bernie Van Tiel. That's Bernie, Van, VAN, like tutu, and separate word, no hyphen, TIEL. If you have trouble remembering it, just be like, Bernie's van is teal. So, perfect. Bernie Van.
Yeah. And I just got one last thing to say. When I was looking through your Facebook page, I really enjoyed some of the older stuff. It was like you on guitar doing like just some it wasn't solo acoustic, because I believe you were playing an electric guitar, but that was some really impressive stuff as well. So
thank you.
aside from the beatboxing and the rapping, that stuff was really, really good as well.
Thank you very much. And if anyone wants to catch me live, be sure to follow my Instagram and Facebook and SoundCloud and everything, all my socials. But I have a festival coming up called Torch Fest. It's in April. On April 4th. You'll find all the details either on my social media or on Listen Up Music.
Okay.
And it's the first music festival that addresses mental health issues in creatives. So the festival will have a whole bunch of musicians and artists, but it'll also have mental health workshops, yoga workshops, stand-up comedy, and so much more. And it's a massive festival here in Sydney. So make sure to come by. It's called Torch Fest.
How did you get involved with the festival before we wrap it up here?
So I was playing a gig out in Parramatta, which is in West Sydney, and I don't know. I was doing my gig, and you just never know who's in the crowd. But this guy came up to me afterwards named Ali Taylor, and he was just like, gave me his card, and he was like, let me know if you got another gig. I think you're fantastic. Get in contact. I run a thing called Listen Up Music. It's about mental health in creativity, and I think you'd be a great ambassador. And while I haven't officially become an ambassador, I am working on doing that. But they basically create opportunities for musicians to be in a safe space to perform and give them gig opportunities and performance and recording opportunities and stuff. And he was like, you should enter this songwriting competition. So that's what I did. And I don't know, I think they were just really happy with the work that I was putting out and the things that I was creating. And, we've just been in contact ever since. And they're a fantastic organization. I've never felt more welcome and with less than little strings attached to anything that they do. They just want you to perform and help you make money off it and be the best creative that you can be.
Awesome. That's very admirable. And so, well, once again, I want to thank you. Thank you for jumping on here. I know we had some technical issues, but we rode right through it. And I want to thank everybody for taking a minute to listen to us. And we will see you guys later.
Thank you very much. And I appreciate it.
I really hope you guys enjoyed that interview. Now it's the time that I told you about earlier in this segment, and we're going to announce next week's fan feedback choice. And this week, the artist we want to hear about that we don't know that much about, but we want your feedback on, is a musician by the name of My Real Name is Starship. He's another rapper slash beatboxer slash instrumentalist musician type act. He is all the way from the UK. He has a show Tuesday, February 18th at the Water Rats in London. So if you're from the area or you're going to be at that show, please make sure you send us feedback, and we will make sure we feature you on next week's episode. And as always, if you think you have a band or a musician that you think we need to check out or we need to hear about, make sure you get us in contact. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, live and amplified. It's all the same thing. We're here. Tag us in their stuff, tag them in our stuff, and we're always down to check out new acts. We always want your feedback. And it's time for the musical shoutouts. First off, we have a free show. Yes, I said free. We have the Outlanders, Coming Home the Band, Misery Overkill, playing February 14th at 9 p.m. at the Red Star Rock Bar in Tampa. Again, that is an absolutely free show in Tampa. or if you're going to be anywhere near Tampa on Friday, make sure you swing by the Red Star Rock Bar in Tampa. Secondly, we have the Winter Mixer on February 16th in Nashville, Tennessee. Doors open at 5. We have the Handsome Loners, Strange Meeting, Blackwood Row, and so many more bands playing at the End in Nashville. And then certainly, last but not least, we have the Spangles playing at Bannerman's Bar in Edinburgh with 2 Sevens and Shock and Awe. The show is February 14th at 7 p.m. until 11 p.m. And if you have a show coming up, make sure you reach out to us, send us an email, direct message, however you can get a hold of us, and let us know when you have a show. We definitely want to shout you out, and the more we get, the merrier. And once again, we want to thank everybody for tuning in for the inaugural episode of the Live and Amplified Jam Session podcast. We're not quite done yet. We have one more thing we want to do, but before we wrap it up and we do this last little thing, I want to make sure you guys check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, subscribe, like our page, make sure you're interactive with us because we are always on Facebook, in the Facebook page, in our Facebook group. We're on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. We are absolutely everywhere. For our final segment tonight, we are going to do one more cover song, and earlier this week we made a post asking for our friends to post the most unique cover song they had. And let me tell you something, they sure did deliver. And the reason we picked this one is this guy posted the most unique cover song. The cover is Bruno Mars' 24 Karat Magic, which you may be thinking, who the heck would cover that song? Well, I will tell you who covered this song because they absolutely murdered it. It is a band by the name of And the Hero Prevails. And you know what? I'm not even going to beat around the bush anymore because I absolutely want you guys to hear this. And the Hero Prevails covers Bruno Mars' 24 Karat Magic. Here you go, guys.
I just wanna take you higher, fly up to the sky. Let's set this party off right. Players, put your pinky rings up to the moon. Girls, what y'all trying to do? 24 karat magic in the so glad. Look out! How about this showtime? Showtime! Guess who's back again? Oh, they don't know. Oh, they don't know. I bet they know as soon as we walk in. Wearing Cuban links, designer minks, Inglewood's finest shoes. Too long, too hard, might hurt yourself. Get the color at the blue. Snap! I'm a dangerous man with some money in my pocket. Keep up. Everyone around the world, can I preach? Can I preach? I gotta show them how I've been through a twirl. First take your sip, do your dip, spend your money like money ain't shit. Woo! Too fresh, gotta blame it on Jesus. Hashtag blessed, they ain't ready for me. I'm a dangerous man with some money in my pocket, keep up. So many pretty girls around me and they're waking up the back and keep up. Why you mad? Put your face, say my father, you'll be jacking, keep up. Brings up to the moon. Girls, what y'all trying to do? 24 karat magic in the air. carat magic. Put your pinky rings up to the moon. Girls, what y'all trying to do? 24 karat magic in the air. And the tunnel's so bad. Look out! Put your pinky rings up to the moon. Girls, what y'all trying to do? 24 karat magic in the air. And the tunnel's so bad. Look out!
And that was And the Hero Prevails, covering 24 Karat Magic by Bruno Mars. You can download their Hero Mixtape Volume 1 at andtheheroprevails.bandcamp.com. And just one last time, thanks guys for tuning in. My name's Tom Quiet. I will be here every freaking episode. I love you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in on the inaugural episode, and I will catch you guys next week. Stay tuned.